Hey, welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. I'm happy that you're here. You're able to join me. This show is all about the technical production of podcasts in terms of audio production. My name is Chris Curran, and I produce podcasts for a living, and I also run the Podcast Engineering School, so I teach professional podcast production as well. And this episode is going to be an overview of a bunch of my daily Goody blog posts, which are these little, let me read it to you. Here's what a daily Goody is. A tiny little tip, fact, or lesson every day. Please don't expect any of these posts to be long, earth-shattering masterpieces that instantly answer every single question you can think of and completely transform you into a world-class podcast engineer. Right? So the daily Goody blog posts are just little, tips and lessons every day. And on this episode, I'm going to overview about 12 of them, I think. And I'm going to talk about a couple other things, which are, I want to thank a few people. I'm going to thank them in a second. And then I'm going to play some audio from one of my students, which was recorded on a RØDECaster Pro with me calling him on the phone. I'll tell you more about that in a second. And also, I want to play the beginning of a clip which I recorded while I was a guest of Addy Saucedo at NAB. We recorded an interview which is never going to make the light of day because the quality wasn't good. But anyway, so I want to play a little clip for you just so you could see, so you can hear the quality for yourself. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. So about every other week, I do these daily Goody summary episodes, and in between weeks I interview people. And since I've actually have so many interviews recorded, I think the last 3 episodes I put out are all interviews. So I like doing these daily Goody episodes because I like talking about all these things, and not having a guest, just delivering interesting content for you. Hopefully you think it's interesting. But I want to thank a few of the people who actually comment a lot on the website's daily goodies. So if you go to podcastengineeringschool.com, you'll see the daily Goody. You can click on that. And like I said, every day there's a little post, and a lot of people comment on it, including Gary Mayholm, Mike Thomas, Sean Kelly, and Brian Ensminger. Thanks to you for you guys kill it on the comments. You comment a lot, and you comment with good stuff. So it's really cool. I really like the fact that, I can sort of write a blog post and then get but get questions and feedback and additional information from our listeners, you guys, our community. So that's awesome. So thank you guys for doing that. And if you haven't commented on any daily goodies yet, feel free. I don't think it's that hard to comment on them. So, all right, so now we're going to cover the daily goodies. I'll summarize and talk about 12 of them, and then after that I'll play those 2 audio clips because I know I want to play the audio clips after I do the daily goodies because I know some people, I don't know, I just sometimes get the feeling that people want the content like up front, like go, give me the content. Come on, chop. And I don't know, I got those 2 very interesting clips to play. I'll play them after I talk about the daily goodies. So the first one we're going to talk about is from actually March 29th. So it's the Sampson Q2U microphone. You've probably heard of this mic. Obviously, it's made by Sampson. They're a good company that makes audio gear. And the Q2U is a USB and XLR microphone, which is cool because you can record both at the same time, actually, if you wanted to, if you needed to. It's comparable to the, more popular Audio-Technica ATR 2100 microphone. Anyway, the Sampson Q2U is a dynamic microphone with a cardioid polar pattern, and it's really a great option for solo podcasters because you can just simply plug it in USB and go. And in comparison to the more popular ATR 2100, the Sampson Q2U seems to have a bit fuller sound with more low frequencies. So it's a little bit fuller and beefier, slightly. So, if you want a little more fullness or beef in your voice, that might, that's a good mic for you. All right. next Daily Goody is from March 30th. This one is Fission. Have you heard of Fission? It's an audio editor made by Rogue Amoeba. And of course, Rogue Amoeba is the company that makes Audio Hijack and Loopback and Farrago. But anyway, Fission is an audio editor. And the cool thing that Fission does that I don't know of any other editors that do this, but if you bring an MP3 file into Fission and you do some editing, when you save that file from Fission, it does not re-encode the entire MP3. Now, other software will do this. If you bring a normal MP3 into pretty much any other software and you're going to make edits, when you save it, it's going to re-encode the entire thing again, basically causing generation loss, right? It's just going to encode it again. And so with Fission, it does not encode it again, so you don't lose a generation. Really pretty cool. And I personally only use Fission. I don't use it for the editing part, but I use it to actually create and tag my final M4A files. So Fission is where I make my M4A files, and I actually tag the M4A files there too. So, and of course I use M4A files these days instead of MP3 files, and we've talked a lot about that. Okay, next post, next goodie. Behave as if you're in a recording studio. Yeah, well, that's what I tell all guests when they're going to be recording a podcast. Behave as if you're in a recording studio. Because I tell them, every little noise you make is going to be on the podcast. So tapping your foot, clicking a pen, moving stuff around your desk, wiping the dust off your computer. Like, it's very strange almost how people, most people, when they're recording audio, for some reason, they just make a lot of noise. And it's like, so you have to tell people because they don't know. Most people don't know. You have to be quiet. When there's a microphone on in the room and it's recording, it picks up everything to some degree. So anyway, that's a little training I have to give all my guests and all my clients' guests. And of course, the reason this is so important because it makes post-production a whole lot easier, right? If you have to try to remove a bunch of noises, and a lot of them you can't remove, like if if someone is talking and making noise at the same time, you can't do anything about that. I mean, I guess you could try, in RX-7, they have some really awesome tools which can do some magical stuff, but it would take forever. So anyway, you get the idea. All right, here's the Daily Goody from April 1st, and this is not an April Fool's post. Some audio apps will not recognize inputs beyond 1 and 2. Okay, so this is how this came up. I actually interviewed Barry Gary, who's a podcast engineering school graduate. I interviewed him for my show, which it's not out yet. It'll come out in about maybe a couple months because I'm so far ahead with recording episodes. He has a Zoom L12, and him and I connected to record our conversation, over the internet, and I couldn't hear him. And so this is what we figured out. And this is the name of this post is, again, some audio apps will not recognize inputs beyond 1 and 2. So his Zoom L12 has, let's say, 8 microphone inputs, I think. He was plugged into input number 7 or 8, something like that. But the thing is, like many, USB mixers and devices which connect right to the computer will only see inputs 1 and 2. So he was plugged into 7. That's why I couldn't hear him. If he took out his mic from channel 7 and plugged it into channel 1, then I could hear him. So this is a really interesting little thing that, it'll help you troubleshoot. If you're ever working with someone and for some reason you can't hear their voice, well, whatever, if they're using a Zoom L12 or maybe even a Mix Pre 6, I don't know. I haven't tried it with the Mix Pre 6. For instance, on the Mix Pre 6, maybe if I plug into channel 4, maybe I wouldn't hear it in for instance, Chrome using Zencastr or Squadcast. So I don't know. So just be aware that if it's just you talking, in your space and you have a Zoom L12 or any multi-track input device, you should just, for ease of use, plug your mic into channel 1 or 2. Usually channel 1 because it's, because you're number 1. Right? I know Ralph M. Rivera is not number 1, but I'm not either. So that's why me and him are brothers from another mother. All right, the next post. Doing post-production on audio recorded at a live event. Yes, audio recorded at a live event. Have you ever had to do post-production on that? Now, here's the thing. Most people at the live event who are recording audio are not experienced audio producers. Now, some of them are, but not all of them. A lot of events, for instance, if there's like a recent example from my production is a client who recorded on stage with a panel. So there's, I think, 4 or 5 people on stage, and they each had their own mic. And, okay, fine. I think they were probably lavalier mics. But here's the thing, like the person running the sound in that room, I mean, maybe they are a professional, but maybe not, right? So anyway, you get the idea that, so when you get audio from a live conference or something, you don't know how it's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be professional or not, or if it's going to have problems. So, and the other thing with these live recordings from live conferences is that, for instance, in the example I just said, where my client was there on stage with a total of 5 people, they're not recording in multi-track. When audio is recorded at a live event, they almost never record it in multi-track. It's always just through a mixer, and then they take the stereo output of the mixer or a mono output and just record all the voices together. So that's a big deal, right? In terms of producing professional audio, because now you got 5 microphones on one track and they're all open. So the noise floor is multiplied by 5. And now you have to deal with all kinds of things like participants whose voices are at different levels. Some people speak very softly. Some people speak loud. Sometimes if the applause is too loud, that can be annoying. So the levels can be all over the place. One or more speakers can have nasty sibilants. And the other speakers don't have nasty sibilants. So now how do you use a de-esser on one of the people in that file? Well, it's a pain in the butt because you either have to use it on certain clips of the file or use it on the entire file, and then you're going to just affect everyone's voice. So you get the idea that when 5 people are recorded on one track, it's a problem. It's usually a problem, right? It doesn't have to be. If someone records it perfectly, then it'll be great. So anyway, sometimes it's not easy getting audio from a live conference with multiple speakers and having to make it sound professional. I don't do it that often, but I do it from time to time, and I kind of like it as a challenge. Like I take it as a challenge, so it's kind of cool. All right, next daily goodie is Reaper. How to preserve pitch when speeding up playback. So Reaper is a great multi-track DAW program, which I use actually, and you can adjust the playback speed in Reaper, but I think by default, when you speed up the playback, you also increase the pitch of the people speaking. So they sort of start to sound like chipmunks, right? Kind of speeds them up and it puts their voice up here. So if you want to increase the speed without increasing the pitch, you can do that. You just have to basically right click on the playback rate slider and choose the option that says preserve pitch in audio items when changing master play rate. So it'll preserve the pitch, basically. It'll keep the pitch normal, but it'll speed up the audio. And of course, speeding up the audio on playback is really handy at times, to get through an episode, right? A little quicker than real time. It helps, especially with editing. Okay, next one. iTunes uses the Fraunhofer. And this is, I've been talking about this over the last few months, and this post is actually from April 4th, which is, like 6 weeks ago already. The Fraunhofer MP3 encoder is the best quality MP3 encoder. And the other main option that you have is the lame encoder. And so anyway, in this post, I list the programs that encode MP3s using the Fraunhofer MP3 encoder, which are Adobe Audition, iTunes, and Windows Media Player. So those three programs have that Fraunhofer MP3 encoder within them. And of course, other programs have the lame encoder, which include Hindenburg and Reaper and even Isotope RX6 and RX7. They all use the lame encoder. And then you can actually buy like a plugin for the Fraunhofer encoder for like $340 if you want. And then you could pretty much use that in any DAW you want because it's kind of like a plugin. All right, next one. Comparing audio from 3 VoIP recording services. Oh, wait, this is my... this is actually episode 124. Anyway, I actually compared audio from 3 VoIP recording services, including Zencastr, Squadcast, and Ringer. So, and you can hear you probably heard it, but if you haven't, check it out. Episode 124, you can hear sample recordings from each of those 3. And you can use your ears to determine which one you like best. All right, the next daily goodie. Podcast editors, business entity, and taxes. So if you're going to, or if you have, or if you're going to start a podcast editing business, and of course this almost goes for any business, like kind of solopreneur business, you can either do it as a sole proprietor, or you can, create like an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp. There's a bunch of different business entities. And by the way, this is not tax advice. Please do your own research. I'm speaking very generally here. But one of the great things about having a business entity for your podcast editing business or your whatever business you have is that you can write off all the equipment purchases and software and plugins and even furniture for your studio. So you can claim a lot of write-offs and save on taxes if you have a business entity set up. I think you could probably do some of that as a sole proprietor, but again, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know. But yeah, look into that, because if you buy like a bunch of gear, like I buy a bunch of gear every year. I mean, maybe not too much, but quite a bit. And if I buy $5,000 worth of stuff in a year, which is not unheard of, that might be my average, I don't know. I write that off. So I save taxes on $5,000, which would be what? Maybe $1,500? So I save myself $1,500. Whatever. Anyway, those are round numbers. I don't know how much gear I buy. Might be more than that. Well, I certainly bought my iMac Pro one year, and the iMac Pro itself was what, $7,500? So that year I was probably over 10K. I don't know, maybe. All right, next one, the Soothe plugin. I wrote about this on April 6th. There's a plugin called Soothe, and it's made by a company called Oak Sound, OEK Sound. I think they're a Finnish company. And Soothe is a dynamic resonance suppressor for mid and high frequencies. And basically it removes harshness. So I basically use it as a de-esser. And what's cool about it is it's not like a traditional de-esser, where in a traditional de-esser, you set a specific frequency range, and then it reduces the sibilance in that range. Like you have to manually set the range, and then it'll reduce the sibilance in that range. But Soothe is different. It's kind of like a dynamic equalizer. Like it monitors the audio signal, and it monitors where the sibilance is. When the sibilance gets loud, wherever it gets loud, whatever frequency it is, Soothe will suppress that. It'll push it down. It'll lower it in volume. So it's really good. So let's say, different S's, different sibilance has different frequencies. Like normal sibilance for me might be around 6 kilohertz or 7 kilohertz. But sometimes if you say a sh, like a sh sound, that can sometimes be harsh, but that usually ends up being a lot lower than 6 or 7 kilohertz. Usually that's around 3 kilohertz. So anyway, around 3 or 4 kilohertz is a very painful area of frequencies if they're really loud. So anyway, soothe, you just set the range for soothe from like, I don't know, maybe 2K and up. And then wherever there's too much sibilance or too much harshness or resonance, soothe will take care of it. So I don't know. It's a great plugin. It's not cheap, but I've been on a plugin tear for the last month and a half. I actually spent some money on plugins again, which I hadn't done for a few years. All right, next, Daily Goody. Audio bit depth. All right, well, bit depth is the number of bits of information in each sample. So we've talked about sample rate before. So the bit depth, and of course a bit is a 0 or a 1. And so bit depth is applicable to, compressed audio like MP3s or M4As. But it's also applicable to uncompressed audio, which is like WAV files or AIFF files if you like that Mac file extension. And normally with uncompressed audio, so for professional audio, you're choosing between 16 bits and 24 bit. So 16 bit is the standard, CD. Remember compact discs? It's the standard CD. It's the Red Book standard, I think. 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. Of course, 24-bit captures audio in a much higher resolution than 16-bit. So I always suggest people record in 24-bit. For your raw audio, you want to record in 24-bit. All right, the next Daily Goody is, well, this was when NAB started on April 8th. And I was there with Ralph the Macho Man Rivera and his wife Carolyn Rivera, who are working on Podcaster's Toolbox as we speak. They were helping me man the booth, the Ask the Expert booth in the Podcast Pavilion, which was awesome. And of course, also there helping us, the wonderful and mysterious she's not really mysterious. I don't know why I said that. Addy Saucedo, the podcast planner. And by the way, if you know anybody who wants to start a podcast, and obviously it's good to plan before you just start a podcast. The podcast planner is great. You can even find it on Amazon. I suggest go to Amazon and buy some copies for your friends and just give it to them as gifts if they want to start a podcast. Anyway, we were at NAB, the Ask the Expert booth. It was really cool. It was really fun. And thanks again to Addy and Ralph and Carolyn for helping out there. Everybody did a great job. All right. Oh, on April 9th, the blog post is the Audio Daily Double. What effect is this? All right. Well, you're going to have to go to this post and click play and hear the very short piece of audio and see what effect I added. And don't look at the comments because some people guessed it right. Anyway, it's kind of fun. You can hear it for yourself and try to guess what effect I used. All right, April 10th, Daily Goody. Focusrite 6i6 interface. And of course, Ralph M. Rivera just recently purchased one of these. A couple things he liked about it and a couple really good things about this audio interface is that there are two XLR inputs on the front as well as 2 1/4-inch inputs on the back. So Ralph and his wife Carolyn, they can each plug in their microphone on the front into the XLR inputs, and then they can plug in an iPad or a computer into the 1/4-inch inputs in the back. So if they want to play sound effects or do something, play something else, or maybe even connect their phone, whatever, play sound clips from their phone, whatever. So, and then also the good thing about the 6i6 is that it has 2 headphone jacks. And I think this is literally what sold Ralph on this, is that him and Carolyn could each plug in headphones and they each have their own volume knob. So that's very handy. So the 6i6 is, I don't know, it's a little more expensive than a 2i2, but not much, actually. It's not much more expensive. I mean, maybe $50. All right. Well, then I posted about a classic episode. If you haven't heard episode 100 of this show, that was a classic. Ralph was actually with me. We had a bunch of fun, but I also played a really cool piece of audio showing all the different what all the different frequencies sound like. Anyway, then you have my episode with Emily Prokop. That's the next post. So let's move on. And I'm already gone past. Okay. So that's it for the daily goodies that I'm going to recap. And now I'm going to play a couple pieces of audio. And hopefully this is fun for you guys. The first is, the current podcast engineering school student, Bob Bergey. He's from 8wheels.com. And I'll put the link to his site in the show notes. But so when I called him for our pre-course mentorship session, I called him on the phone, and he patched me through into his RØDECaster Pro. So what you're going to hear is the phone ringing, and Bob's going to answer the phone, and I'm the person who's on the phone. So we spent it's only about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes at most, but we just he told me his setup, and I asked him some questions about it, but it's pretty interesting. And you can hear the quality of the phone call as it was recorded with the RØDECaster Pro. So the RØDECaster Pro, a lot of people are purchasing that and using it. A lot of people like it. So anyway, here's a piece of audio with me calling Bob and him patching me into his RØDECaster Pro and recording me. And this is the little conversation. And so you're listening to it for audio quality. I mean, again, it's not going to be perfect audio quality, but just to sort of hear a phone call through the RØDECaster Pro. All right, here we go.
This is Bob.
Hey, Bob, it's Chris Curran. How are you?
Yes, Chris. Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Good. I'm experimenting at the same time we're doing this. For the first time, I answered the phone on my iPhone connected to the RØDECaster Pro, and I have the recording enabled so I can refer back to this if I want to.
Really? Sweet.
And
that's awesome.
And I'm speaking into the Procaster mic also. So all Rode here today at this end.
Oh, okay. So they'll get the Procaster going into the RØDECaster.
Right.
And then so you have, the phone, right. The phone is connected by Bluetooth or by cable?
No, cable.
Okay.
The RØDECaster offers both. So
got it.
I have it hardwire connected. I didn't want to worry about messing with Bluetooth. It has Bluetooth capability too, obviously, but
right. Yeah, so you're hearing me on the phone through my I just got a Samsung Galaxy S10.
Okay, the latest one.
The latest one, which came out, I don't know, a month ago. And in the box, they send earbuds, and usually they're not that great, but I think these are AKG earbuds. And anyway, I don't know. I'm sure it doesn't sound great, but I'm sure it sounds okay, right?
Oh, it's very legible. Yeah, it doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, that's good. It's a good thing for you to do, to record everything.
This is the first time I tried it, so I'm pleased that it works right out of the box like this.
Right. So you're recording on the
RØDECaster.
On the RØDECaster.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
okay?
It's not.
You don't mind being recorded, right?
Oh no, not at all. And it's not even attached to a computer.
It is.
Okay.
But I'm not recording it that way. I could record in Logic Pro that way too.
Right.
But I figured it was just easier to hit I wanted the computer to be free to look around here if I needed to.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. Very cool. Yeah, I actually got to see one of those in person at PodFest, the RØDECaster Pro, and I got to talking to that pod mic as well. It was interesting.
Yeah, the pod mic came out after I got the rest of my stuff, and that might have been a more economical option, but I really like the Procaster mic. And going through the RØDECaster, it really makes me sound good. Yeah,
you sound really clear. It sounds good. I mean, those are good mics.
Yeah, they are.
The pod mic I was wondering about, but I talked through it. It seemed okay. Like, it's hard. You can't really judge a mic by when you're talking into it. I think that was one of my recent daily goodies.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a little sample of me calling Bob Bergey on and him patching me in and recording me with his RØDECaster Pro. All right. What'd you think of that? How did I sound on the phone? Should I instead of using the mic I'm using now, should I sort of start doing my show on the phone? Like, remember the old Blog Talk Radio days when the host and the guest, everyone was on the phone? Oh, yeah. All right. Now, the next clip I'm going to play is from, it's actually from NAB, which I mentioned earlier. So Addy Saucedo was there with us at NAB. And right across from us was the podcasting studio, which was run by NAB itself. So it was actually a studio with a couple desks and I think 4 microphones. And, you could make an appointment and go into this little studio. It was enclosed, but it wasn't, airtight. But it was a closed space, and you would go in and shut the door. And it had, glass all around it, like plexiglass, so people could see in from the outside. And so Addy made an appointment, and she wanted me to interview me for her Modern Vintage Radio podcast, which you can find that, Modern Vintage Radio. I'll put a link in the show notes. And so we went in there, and we recorded for about 25 minutes. And when I sat down, the microphones that they had, they looked like large diaphragm condenser microphones, which is what I think they were. It reminded me of an AKG 414, which I'm very familiar with. I've used a lot of them in music production. And okay, so the mics were large diaphragm condenser. Right off the bat, I was like, wait, you have 4 large diaphragm condensers in this one little room with some conference noise outside? I was like, wow. And then there was no pop filter at all. And I was like, how are they doing this? I was like, are they using like some magical processor where if I pop some plosives right into the mic, it's going to sound fine? So anyway, as soon as we sat down and I had these thoughts, what do you think's the first thing I did? Of course. And so Addy's like, okay, well, you'll hear it. Addy's like, okay, here we go. And I was like, I had to check the plosives. And because I wanted to hear it later. I'm like, how do you have a large diaphragm condenser without a windscreen or a pop filter? I just figured that everyone knew what they were doing. Apparently, well, you be the judge. So anyway, I'm going to play like the first, how long? Oh, the first 30 seconds. I'm going to play the first 30 seconds of this, and I want you to hear it. Hear it and check it out. And it starts out with like 3 seconds of basically just like background noise and room tone. So you'll get the idea of the level of background noise that these mics were picking up. So anyway, Addy's great. And by the way, I think she decided against using this interview, which stinks because we had a really fun chat. And she has the audio, but it's just, you'll hear, it's not worthy of publishing, maybe. I don't know. What do you think? All right, here we go. I'm going to play it now.
Ready? Sorry.
I was going to cut you off. Please bring pizza pronto. For Banjo Scott, I had to do that, Addy. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. I saw you and I'm like, welcome to the Modern Vintage Radio Show. I'm Addy Saucedo, and with me today is Chris Curran to talk about all things audio and podcasting. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. Happy to be here when we're sitting here live at NAB. All right, so there you have it. You guys heard it? Here, I'll play a little bit of it again.
Ready? Sorry.
I was going to cut you off. Please bring pizza pronto. That's my favorite part. Please bring pizza pronto, because that's what Banjo Scott says from Podcastage. Congratulations to Banjo also for passing 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. Dude, seriously, if Barry was here in the room with me, I would give you a yeah, oh yeah. Or like back in the 80s, we used to say, dude, man, dude. Anyone else ever say that way back then? All right. Anyway, just us crazy kids from North Jersey? Okay. Anyway, so you heard the plosives when I said that. It literally, I mean, they were using a limiter, but wow. Just, right? It's unusable. So I don't know if you're going to record audio on location and all that. So here's the thing. Whatever you're going to do, just think it through and get the right equipment. I mean, condenser mics, not the right equipment. Wind screens, that's the right equipment, which they did not have. And then they had an engineer in the room with us who, I don't know, I don't know what he was doing. So anyway, you get the idea. Like if you're going to record audio, think it through, get the right setup and capture good audio because you have to. I mean, there's no other way. You can't record a bunch of crap and then fix it all later. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little episode. Again, check out this. I'm publishing an episode every week for a long time, and I'm publishing the Daily Goody every day. So go to the website and you can actually subscribe to. You can get the Daily Goody in your email. You can get it every day, or you can get the weekly summary. So you choose when you sign up. And also, I have a monthly resources email that I send out too. You can sign up for that if you want. And I also wanted to mention the Podcasters Lounge, which I stream live every Wednesday evening here in the United States. And it's a 2-hour live stream with video. You can watch on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Periscope and Mixer and D Live, I think. So a lot of places you can watch, you can comment. It's fun. We have a fun time. It's very chill and relaxed. Bring your favorite beverage and in the chat, let us, say hello, let us know what you're up to. So the Podcasters Lounge, really awesome. And that's it. And I'm recording a bunch of audio for a special episode, which I'm going to publish, I think 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from this episode, I'll publish the special one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let you wait. But anyway, got a bunch of guest interviews that I've already done. It's just great. Look in the show notes. You can see the names of those people. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you again for listening. I really hope this stuff is helpful to you in terms of producing better audio and learning to become more professional in your podcast production. It's just, when you learn how to produce audio, it just helps in so many different areas, even beyond podcasting. Hey, Alan Tepper, that's the name of your show, Beyond Podcasting. Anyway, all right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. See ya.